Hello everyone, my name is Samantha Carlos, and today I'll be speaking about a book review of the Flip Your Classroom, Reach Every Student in Every Class Every Day. To start, I'll be doing an introduction of the authors and their ideology. So, Jonathan Bergman had been an educator for 25 years. He won the 2002 Presidential Award for Excellence for Math and Science and Teaching. Aaron Sams had been teaching since 2000, and he won the 2009 Presidential Award for Excellence for Math and Science Teaching. He has a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, and he has a Master's of Arts in Education. And the whole ideology of the book is that they are trying to get educators to flip their classroom for the students' benefit and how to do so. So summary content, the book was very short in length, but they provided a lot of details about the background of how they got started with the flipped classroom, explanation of what the flipped classroom is, the reasons to flip your classroom and how to do so. And they also introduced a flipped mastery model of a classroom, and then also frequently asked questions that have been brought up prior to writing this book, and a conclusion. To start my analysis and evaluation, I'll be talking about different aspects of the book and then analyzing them. All of the aspects that I'll be analyzing are mainly on the layout of the book because I have never read a book like this before, and I was very surprised at the layout and enjoyed it, so that's why I'll be focusing on that. So to start, I'll be talking about the background. They spoke about how they started the flipped classroom, which I really enjoyed because they not only did they speak about like how it came to be, but they provided like real world scenarios about students struggling because they have a life outside of school, and that the flipped classroom would help those students. And then they talked about how they decided to start screen recording their lessons so that those students were able to catch up in class like what they were missing. And then they decided to, let's just do this full time. And then they talked about how it really changed the way that they taught and that they saw improvement in their class. And yeah, and then they even address the layout of the book right before they start to talk about the flipped classroom itself. And so I really enjoyed the background because they touch base on almost every single thing that the book will be touching on. So I enjoyed that very much. And then for the reasons for the flipped classroom, they provided 15 reasons. And I thought that was really interesting because they have like a whole chapter for the reasons to flip their classroom, and each subheading for the chapter was a reason to do so. So, for example, they said it speaks the language of today's students, it helps busy students, helps struggling students, helps students excel, and even allows teachers to know their students better and increasing student to student interaction, which is great because I like how, yes, they want to focus on the student mainly for reasons, and that it allows teachers to interact with students way more than it would just be a common lecture. And then they even provide bad reasons to flip your classrooms, and the 5 are because some guys who got a book published told you to, because you think it will create a 21st century classroom, because you think it will become cutting edge, you think flipping your classroom exempts you from being a good teacher, and because you think it will make your job easier. And I like that they address this because basically they're saying that it's just not like a way to get out of teaching, because yeah, you're still a teacher, and that flipping your classroom is just something for you to try out if you want to see if it'll change how your students will progress and stuff. And I really enjoyed that they included that because it's realistic. And now I want to talk about providing tips for the flipped classroom. The tips that they include are the technical making videos and how to make them enjoyable for students, and even using other teachers' videos and making parents aware, which I really like the making parents aware, because if it's a new way of teaching and that it's not a traditional way of teaching, sometimes when students get home from school and stuff, usually parents ask them like, "Oh, you have homework today?" Like, "Oh, what's your homework?" And like, they want to see what you're doing. With the flipped classroom, it's where they watch the lectures at home and then they do the homework in class with the teacher. So it's flipped, obviously. So I think it's very good that they brought up making parents aware of what change they were making. And I just found it very interesting that they decided to even include a section for the tips on different equipment to use, such as the software, the microphone as well, and just the webcam and different stuff like that. And they even included stages of making a video, and such as planning the lesson, recording the video, editing the video, and publishing it. And I just really find that these tips um, that they provided are something that I didn't even think of as a student who has created about 2 screencasts. I found it very helpful. Now, moving on to frequently asked questions, I actually like that they brought in questions that many people have asked me in the past. I liked it very much because it just, as you're reading the book, you don't think of these questions, and I just like that they brought in their own and then they answer them, such as students. One question is that, what do you do with students who don't have access to computer at home? Like, they answered that they can burn CDs and DVDs, and they to play on the TV, or even flash drives, and as well as just allowing them to watch the videos in class if they really needed to, if there's no other way. And then how, if what happens if they don't watch the videos, and that it's really if they didn't, that they'd have to watch it in class, and it just takes away from the time of working with other students in their classroom. So yeah, they answer many different questions that I am glad that they asked, because I never thought about them when I was reading the books. Now I'll be talking about the tone of the book. I liked the tone very much because it was very informative and but there was like no pressure along with it. Like, just the tone of the novel was very just light and informative, where all they wanted to do was inform educators on the classroom, and like they put their own experiences so that they can that they just want to inform people on and the reasons why. And I like that they don't put pressure on anyone to change their teaching style unless they really want to, such as the conclusion, where they say, it's not that we want you to change your whole classroom, but we want to challenge you and see if it makes a difference for you, makes it better, because it made it better for them. So you just want to be able to share that with others, but they put no pressure at all on the reader to listen to them. Even like going back to the reasons for the flipped classroom, to talk about 5 reasons that are not good enough to flip your classroom, and one of them is straight up, like, don't let, just because 2 guys that wrote a book tell you to flip your classroom doesn't mean you should. It all depends on what is best for you. So I like the tone of the book very much. So yeah. And now for conclusion, overall, I would recommend this book because I had never thought of teaching to be flipped this way. and I like that they give insight of how the flipped classroom has worked for them, and they give tips. And I want to talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of the book. I like the strengths or the format. It's very easy to follow, very straightforward. I like that they include personal experiences and make it real. And I like the tone again. It was they were very informative and like not too heavy on the reader. And for the weaknesses, I didn't like that they included a flipped mastery model right away in this book, because it is, an introduction to the flipped classroom and just, getting used to the idea and learning about it. And I felt like it just made it harder on the reader to learn about a flipped mastery model, where it it's much heavier than just a flipped classroom model from when I was reading. So that was just one weakness that I found, that, well, for me personally, that I just did not enjoy. So yeah. So thank you for listening. I hope that you liked this book review, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. So once again, thank you for listening.